Listen to me carefully. Most people want a legacy, but they're living like spectators. They want greatness, but they're negotiating with comfort. They want success, but they're praying for luck instead of preparing for war. And that's why average keeps winning in their lives. See, Eric Thomas always says when you want success as badly as you want to breathe, that's when your life changes. Not when it's convenient, not when it's easy, when it's necessary. Because legacy isn't something you hope for, it's something you design. Today, I'm not here to motivate you temporarily. I'm here to wake you up permanently. Because designing your legacy demands something rare. It demands relentless effort. It demands discipline when nobody is watching. It demands belief when nothing is working. And most importantly, it demands that you stop waiting for luck and start building your rise. This is the rise and thrive method. And if you're ready to stop wishing and start becoming, then it's time to step into the mindset that separates legends from spectators. Success is not an accident. Legacy is not luck. Greatness is not random. Legacy is design. It is built brick by brick, decision by decision, sacrifice by sacrifice. People talk about luck like it's some magical force that lifts a few chosen individuals above the rest. But I'm here to tell you something different. Luck might open a door, but relentless effort is what keeps you in the room. You don't stumble into greatness, you engineer it. Every champion you admire, every leader you respect, every person whose story inspires you, none of them got there by chance. They got there because they showed up when it was hard, when it was uncomfortable, when nobody was watching, and when quitting felt easier than continuing. The rise and thrive method is simple but powerful. First, you rise. Rising means you refuse to stay where you are. It means you reject mediocrity. It means you wake up every day with a decision already made. I will improve. Rising is about mindset. It's about vision. It's about seeing yourself as more before the world ever sees it. Then you thrive. Thriving is execution. It's discipline. It's consistency. It's grinding when motivation disappears. Anybody can rise when they feel inspired. Only the committed thrive when they feel tired. Most people wait for the perfect moment. They wait for the right opportunity. They wait for someone to believe in them. But champions don't wait. They create. They create opportunities. They create momentum. They create belief through action. Your legacy is not written at the end of your life. It is written today. In the way you work, in the way you respond to obstacles, in the way you treat your craft. Legacy is not about fame. It's about impact. It's about who becomes stronger. Because you refuse to quit. There will be days when you feel behind. Days when it seems like everyone else is winning and you're stuck. Those are the days that matter most. Because those are the days when effort becomes your advantage. When you keep going while others stop, you separate yourself. Not instantly, not dramatically, but permanently. Luck fades. Effort compound. The world celebrates overnight success stories, but what they don't show you are the years of unseen work. The early mornings, the late nights. The silent sacrifices, the doubts fought alone. That's where legacies are forged. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadow. You don't need perfect conditions. You need relentless commitment. You don't need approval. You need discipline. You don't need luck. You need consistency. The rise and thrive method demands that you stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop bargaining with your fears. Stop waiting for permission. If you want a legacy, you must decide that your future is not optional. It is mandatory. Because one day, people will speak your name. People will speak your name. The only question is, what will they say? Will they say you have potential? Or will they say you made history? Design your legacy now. Build it daily. Protect it fiercely. And remember this, luck might give you a chance, but relentless effort makes you unforgettable. Legacy is not something you stumble upon like a hidden treasure buried in the sand. It is something you architect, something you blueprint, something you deliberately construct with intention, patience, and relentless focus. Too many people walk through life thinking legacy is reserved for the lucky, the gifted, or the chosen few. But the truth is far more empowering and far more demanding. Legacy belongs to the intention. It belongs to the ones who decide long before results show up that their life will stand for something meaningful. The world tries to sell you the fantasy that greatness is discovered. Like one day you wake up and suddenly realize you're extraordinary. But greatness doesn't arrive like a surprise guest. It's built like a monument, one disciplined brick at a time. When you understand that legacy is designed, everything about how you live changes. You stop asking or what's easy, and you start asking or what matters. You stop chasing applause and start chasing impact. Designers don't wait for inspiration. They create with purpose. They sketch, they revise, they fail, they adjust, and they keep building until the vision in their mind becomes reality in their hand. That is how a legacy works. It begins as an internal decision long before it becomes an external recognition. The world sees the finished structure, but they don't see the late nights, the doubts, the sacrifices, and the discipline that laid the foundation. And that's where most people quit, in the foundation phase, because they don't realize that the invisible work is the real work. Designing your legacy means you live proactively instead of reactively. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your direction, you dictate your direction despite circumstances. Anyone can drift through life responding to whatever happened. But architects don't drift. Architects plan. They envision. They execute. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They work with what they have and improve it along the way. That's the difference between people who leave marks on history and people who leave footprints that disappear with the wind. One group designs, the other drifts. The moment you accept that your legacy is your responsibility, excuses lose their power. You can't blame your past, your environment, your resources, or your critics, because none of those things hold the pen that writes your story. And when you realize that, you stop wasting energy complaining about what you lack and start maximizing what you have. Designers don't complain about limited material. They become creative with what's available. They innovate. They adapt. They refuse to let limitations define the final outcome. In the same way, when you commit to designing your legacy, you become solution-driven instead of problem-focused. Obstacles stop looking like walls and start looking like building materials. A design legacy requires clarity. You cannot build something meaningful if you don't know what you're building. That means you must decide what you stand for, what you refuse to compromise on, and what impact you want your life to leave behind. Clarity is powerful because it eliminates distraction. When you know your mission, you stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes only to what aligns with your purpose. Distraction is the enemy of design. Every masterpiece requires focus, and every legacy requires intention. Without clarity, effort gets scattered. With clarity, effort becomes concentrated, and concentrated effort is what produces extraordinary results over time. Designing your legacy also requires patience, because anything meaningful takes time to construct. We live in a world addicted to speed, obsessed with instant gratification, and conditioned to expect quick results. But legacies don't operate on the clock of convenience. They operate on the clock of commitment. A skyscraper is not built in a day. A masterpiece is not painted in an hour. A legacy is not created in a moment. It is formed through years of consistent action, repeated discipline, and unwavering dedication. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active persistence. It is continuing to build, even when progress feels slow, even when recognition is absent, even when results seem delayed. Because designers understand something that drifters don't. Slow progress is still progress, and still progress compounds. You must also understand that designing your legacy requires sacrifice. Every great structure demands material of legacy is sacrifice. Time for convenience and sometimes even popularity must be surrendered in order to construct something meaningful. The reason many people never build a legacy is not because they lack ability, but because they are unwilling to pay the price. They want significance without sacrifice, impact without effort, recognition without discipline. But design doesn't work that way. Every choice you make is either adding a brick to your legacy or removing one. Every decision either strengthens your structure or weakens it. And when you see life through that lens, your daily habits begin to matter more because you realize you're not just passing time, you're laying foundation. Another truth about legacy is that it is shaped by consistency more than intensity. Intensity can start a fire, but consistency keeps it burning. Anyone can work hard for a day. Anyone can be focused for a week. Anyone can be disciplined for a month. But designing a legacy requires you to show up with the same commitment year after year, especially when motivation fades. Motivation is emotional. Design is intentional. Emotions fluctuate, intentions endure. The people who design powerful legacies are not the ones who feel inspired every day. They are the ones who act with purpose every day, regardless of how they feel. They understand that feelings are temporary, but the structure they are building is permanent. You must also accept that when you design your legacy, not everyone will understand your blueprint. Some people will question your choices. Some will doubt your direction. Some will misunderstand your focus. That's because they can't see what you see. They don't have your vision. And you cannot expect people without your vision to understand your discipline. Designers often work alone before their work is admired. They spend long hours perfecting details nobody notices yet. But they keep going because they know the vision is real, even if the applause hasn't arrived. When you commit to designing your legacy, you must develop the strength to stay faithful to your vision, even when validation is absent. Designing your legacy also means you stop measuring success by temporary outcomes and start measuring it by lasting impact. Temporary success fades. Lasting impact echoes. Money can be spent, fame can disappear, trends can change. But a true legacy outlives circumstances. It continues influencing people long after you're gone. That kind of impact doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you live intentionally, serve purposefully, and work relentlessly towards something bigger than yourself. When your focus shifts from personal gain to meaningful contribution, your actions gain weight, your work gains depth, and your life gains significance. There will be moments when designing your legacy feels exhausting, moments when the blueprint seems too big, the work seems too hard, and the progress seems too slow. In those moments, you must remind yourself why you started, because purpose fuels perseverance. When your reason is strong enough, your endurance becomes unbreakable. Designers don't quit when construction gets difficult. They adjust, they refine, they strengthen, and they continue. They know that stopping halfway doesn't create a masterpiece, creates a reminder of what could have been. And you were not created to be a what could have been story. You were created to be a look where persistence build a story. Legacy is designed in daily decisions that seem small but carry enormous weight over time. Choosing discipline over distraction, choosing growth over comfort, choosing courage over fear. These decisions may feel insignificant in the moment, but repeated consistently, they shape the architecture of your life. Just like a single brick seems small until you realize it's part of a towering structure. Your daily actions may seem minor until you see the legacy they create. Never underestimate the power of small intentional actions repeated faithfully. That's how ordinary lives become extraordinary stories. So if you want a legacy, stop waiting to discover it and start deciding to design it. Decide what you stand for. Decide what you're building. Decide how you will show up every day regardless of circumstances. Because legacy is not found, it is formed. It is forged. It is fashioned by people who understand that their life is not an accident, but an assignment. And once you embrace that truth, you stop wandering aimlessly and start building intentionally. You stop hoping for significance and start constructing it. You stop wishing for greatness and start working for it. And one day when people look at your life, they won't say you got lucky. They'll say you were intentional. They won't say you stumbled into impact. They'll say you built it. They won't say you discovered your legacy. They'll say you designed it. Before any result shows up in your life, before any success becomes visible, before any progress can be measured, something must rise first. And that something is your mindset. Everything you will ever build externally is first constructed internally. People often chase results without realizing results are reflections. They are mirrors showing you what is happening inside your thinking, your belief system, your discipline, and your perspective. If your mindset is weak, your results will eventually collapse. If your mindset is strong, your results will eventually rise. That is why elevation in life never starts on the outside. It always starts within. Rising is not about circumstances changing. Rising is about you changing. Many people sit around waiting for life to improve before they improve themselves. But transformation does not work in that order. The world does not upgrade you first. You upgrade yourself first. When your thinking rises, your standards rise. When your standards rise, your habits rise. When your habits rise, your results rise. Everything begins with the invisible decision to think differently. That decision is the spark that ignites every breakthrough you will ever experience. Your mindset is your internal command center. It determines how you interpret obstacles, how you respond to setbacks, and how you handle pressure. Two people can face the same challenge and walk away with completely different outcomes. Not because the challenge was different, but because their mindset was different. One sees difficulty and retreats. The other sees difficulty and rises. One sees failure and quits. The other sees failure and learns. The difference is not talent. It is not luck. It is not opportunity. The difference is perspective, and perspective is a product of mindset. To rise mentally means you stop identifying yourself by your current position and start identifying yourself by your potential. Most people imprison themselves with labels based on where they are right now. They say they're not skilled enough, not experienced enough, not confident enough, not ready enough. But rising requires you to see beyond your present limitation. It requires you to believe that who you are becoming is more important than who you have been. That belief is powerful because it shifts your focus from restriction to possibility. And possibility is where growth lives. Mindset determines whether you see effort as a burden or a privilege. When your thinking is low, effort feels like punishment. When your thinking rises, effort feels like investment. You begin to understand that every challenge you face is not there to stop you, but to strengthen you. Every obstacle is resistance training for your character. Every difficulty is a test designed to prepare you for a higher level. Rising means you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? That single shift in thinking can transform frustration into fuel. Results are slow to appear, but mindset shifts can happen in an instant. That is why your greatest power is not your resources or your connections or your circumstance. Your greatest power is your ability to choose your perspective. You can decide right now that you will think like the person you want to become instead of the person you used to be. You can decide that doubt will no longer control your decisions. You can decide that fear will no longer dictate your direction. The moment you choose a stronger mindset, you initiate a stronger life. Rising mentally also means you take responsibility for your growth. Blame is the enemy of elevation. As long as you blame other people, your past, your environment, or your situation, you surrender your power to change. Responsibility, on the other hand, is empowering because it puts you back in control. When you accept responsibility, you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life and start building it yourself. That shift is the turning point where stagnation ends and progress begins. Responsibility is not heavy when you understand it correctly. It is liberating because it reminds you that your future is still in your hands. Another essential part of rising first is vision. You cannot rise towards something you cannot see. Vision is the mental picture of your future that pulls you forward, even when your present feels difficult. It is the reason you keep going when results are invisible. It is the anchor that keeps you steady when doubt tries to shake you. Vision gives your effort direction. Without vision, effort becomes scattered. With vision, effort becomes focused. And focused effort is unstoppable over time. When your mindset rises through vision, you begin to act like the person you intend to become long before the world recognizes it. Rising requires discipline in your thoughts just as much as discipline in your actions. Many people try to control their behavior without controlling their thinking, but behavior always follows belief. If you believe you are weak, your actions will reflect hesitation. If you believe you are capable, your actions will reflect courage. That is why guarding your mind is one of the most important responsibilities you have. The thoughts you allow to stay will eventually shape the life you live. The negative thinking is not harmless. It is structural damage to your future. Positive thinking is not naive. It is architectural reinforcement of your destiny. You must also understand that rising internally often happens quietly. There may be no applause, no recognition, no validation. Sometimes nobody will notice your growth except you. But that does not make it insignificant. In fact, it makes it powerful. Silent growth is the strongest kind because it is rooted in purpose rather than praise. When your mindset rises privately, your results will eventually rise publicly. The world may not see your mental transformation immediately, but they will see its effects. Confidence will replace hesitation. Discipline will replace inconsistency. Focus will replace distraction. And suddenly people will think you changed overnight, not realizing you have been rising internally for a long time. Rising first also requires emotional resilience. Life will test you. Plans will fail. Expectations will be disappointing. Effort will sometimes go unnoticed. If your mindset depends on everything going smoothly, you will fall apart the moment things go wrong. But if your mindset is resilient, challenges will not break you, they will build you. Resilience means you bend without breaking. It means you adapt without surrendering. It means you continue without losing belief. That kind of strength does not come from comfort, comes from commitment. It comes from deciding that no matter what happens, you will keep rising. Another truth about mindset is that it must be maintained daily. You cannot rise once and expect to stay elevated forever. Just like physical strength requires regular training, mental strength requires consistent renewal. Doubt will try to return. Fear will try to creep back in. Distractions will try to steal your focus. Rising is not a one-time event. It is a daily discipline. Each morning you must choose your mindset again. Each day you must guard your focus again. Each night you must evaluate your growth again. Consistency in your thinking creates stability in your life. When you rise mentally, you stop fearing hard work because you understand its purpose. Work is not your enemy. Work is your pathway. Effort is not your obstacle. Effort is your advantage. People with low mindsets look for shortcuts. People with rising mindsets look for growth. They don't ask how little they can do. They ask how much they can improve. That mentality separates those who wish from those who win. Wishing requires no effort. Winning requires transformation. And transformation begins in the mind. You will know your mindset is rising when your conversations change. Complaints will turn into strategies. Excuses will turn into plans. Doubt will turn into determination. Instead of talking about what is wrong, you will start talking about what is possible. Instead of focusing on what you lack, you will focus on what you can build. Language reflects mindset, and mindset predicts direction. When your words begin to carry confidence, clarity, and purpose, it is a sign that your internal elevation has begun. Rising first means you stop waiting for proof before believing. Most people say they will believe in themselves when they see results, but rising requires the opposite. You must believe before results appear. You must trust your growth before evidence exists. Faith in your own potential is what sustains you during the early stages when nothing seems to be happening. Those who wait for proof rarely persist long enough to produce it. Those who believe first create the proof later. The truth is simple, but powerful. Results are effects, mindset is cause. Effects cannot exist without causes. If you want different results, you must become a different thinker, not temporarily, permanently. You must adopt the mindset of discipline, resilience, focus, and belief until it becomes your natural way of operating. Once that happens, success stops being something you chase and starts being something you attract. Because your mindset will naturally guide your decisions, and your decisions will naturally guide your outcomes. Rising internally is the most important victory you will ever win because it is the only victory that guarantees all others. Once your mindset is strong, setbacks cannot stop you. Delays cannot discourage you. Criticism cannot break you. Pressure cannot shake you. Why? Because everything external becomes weaker than what is internal. And when your inner world is stronger than your outer world, nothing can hold you down for long. So rise first. Rise in your thinking. Rise in your belief. Rise in your standards. Rise in your vision. Do not wait for results to tell you who you are. Decide who you are and let the results catch up later. Because every mountain that has ever been climbed was first conquered in the mind. Every victory that has ever been won was first declared internally. Every legacy that has ever been built was first designed in thought. Rise first, and the world will eventually see you rise. Motivation is exciting. It feels powerful, emotional, electric. It can make your heart race, your mind ignite, and your vision seem crystal clear. But motivation is also unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. Some days you feel unstoppable, and other days you feel stuck before you even start. That is why anyone who builds something meaningful learns a life-changing truth sooner or later. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what carries you to the finish line. If you rely on motivation alone, your progress will always be inconsistent because your effort will depend on your emotion. And emotions by nature are unstable. Thriving, however, demands stability. It demands a system stronger than feelings. It demands discipline. Discipline is different from motivation in one critical way. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Feelings change with weather, mood, sleep, and circumstances. Decisions, when they are firm, remain steady. That is why disciplined people do not ask themselves how they feel before they act. They act because they already decided who they are. When you become disciplined, you remove negotiation from your routine. You stop debating whether you should show up, whether you should work, whether you should push harder. The decision has already been made. You show up because that is what you do. You work because that is who you are. You push because that is your standard. Most people misunderstand thriving. They think thriving means feeling good all the time, feeling inspired every day and waking up excited for every challenge. But thriving is not about constant excitement. Thriving is about consistent execution. It's about doing what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Some days you will feel energized. Other days you will feel drained. Some mornings you will wake up ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you will wake up wishing you could stay in bed. Discipline is what ensures that both mornings produce progress. Without discipline, only the motivated days count. With discipline, every day counts. There's a hidden danger in depending on motivation. When motivation fades, people often assume their passion is gone. They think something is wrong with them because they no longer feel the same excitement they felt at the beginning. In reality, nothing is wrong. The excitement was never meant to last forever. Motivation is like a spark that starts an engine. Discipline is the fuel that keeps it running. If you judge your commitment by your excitement level, you will abandon goals that still matter simply because the emotional rush has faded. But disciplined individuals understand that feelings are temporary while purpose is permanent. They don't quit when excitement disappears. They switch from emotion to execution. Thriving requires discipline because success is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary moments repeated consistently. The world celebrates highlight reels, big wins, and breakthrough performances, but those moments are only the visible result of countless unseen repetition. Behind every impressive outcome are hours of practice, preparation, and persistence that nobody applauded. Discipline is what makes those hidden hours possible. It is the force that keeps you working when nobody is watching, and no reward is guaranteed. It is the habit of continuing even when progress feels invisible. When you develop discipline, you gain freedom. That may sound strange at first, because discipline is often associated with restriction. People think it limits them, controls them, or confines them. But true discipline does the opposite. It removes chaos from your life. It replaces confusion with clarity and replaces hesitation with direction. Without discipline, your days are controlled by impulse. You do what feels easy instead of what creates growth. You follow comfort instead of purpose. But when you are disciplined, you control your actions rather than letting your impulses control you. That kind of control is freedom in its purest form. One of the strongest signs that a person is thriving is not visible talent, but reliable habits. Talent can give someone an advantage, but habits determine whether that advantage lasts. Discipline turns positive actions into automatic behaviors. When something becomes a habit, it no longer requires intense effort to start. It becomes part of your rhythm. Just like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes, disciplined actions eventually feel natural rather than forced. That is when thriving truly begins, because progress is no longer dependent on bursts of effort. It is sustained by routine. Discipline also strengthens your identity. Every time you follow through on something you promise yourself, you reinforce trust in your own character. You prove to yourself that your words have weight and your commitments have meaning. That self-trust is powerful. It builds confidence that cannot be shaken easily because it is rooted in evidence. You know you can rely on yourself because you have done so repeatedly. On the other hand, every time you break your own promises, you weaken that trust. You create doubt in your own reliability. Discipline protects your self-respect, and self-respect fuels long-term growth. Another reason thriving depends on discipline is because life will test you. Challenges will appear when you least expect them. Plans will fade. Obstacles will interrupt your progress. Pressure will increase. If your effort depends on motivation, these moments will stop you. But if your effort is driven by discipline, these moments will strengthen you. Discipline does not disappear when conditions become difficult. It becomes more valuable. It gives you the stability to continue when circumstances are unstable. keeps you grounded when everything around you feels uncertain. People often search for secret formulas for success, hoping to find shortcuts that will make achievement easier. But the truth is that discipline is the closest thing to a universal formula. It works in every field, every industry, every goal, and every dream. Whether someone wants to build a business, master a skill, improve their health, or develop their character, discipline is the common requirement. It may not be glamorous, and it may not attract attention, but it always produces results. It is the quiet force that turns intention into reality. Discipline also eliminates the need for constant external encouragement. When you rely on motivation, you often depend on outside sources to create that feeling. You look for speeches, music, praise, or inspiration to get started. There's nothing wrong with encouragement, but if you cannot act without it, your progress becomes dependent on something you cannot always control. Discipline removes that dependency. It allows you to act regardless of whether encouragement is present. It makes you self-driven instead of externally pushed. That independence is a defining trait of people who truly thrive. Another powerful aspect of discipline is that it compounds over time. One disciplined action may seem small, almost insignificant, but when that action is repeated daily, its impact multiplies. Just as small deposits can grow into large savings through consistent investment, small disciplined efforts can grow into extraordinary results through repetition. The key is patience. Discipline rarely produces instant rewards. Its benefits accumulate gradually, often unnoticed at first, but eventually the results become undeniable. What once seemed like minor effort reveals itself as major transformation. Thriving through discipline also changes how you view difficulty. Instead of seeing hard work as something to avoid, you begin to see it as something to embrace. Difficulty becomes a signal that growth is happening. It becomes evidence that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone. Disciplined individuals do not run from challenges. They lean into them. They understand that comfort rarely produces progress, and progress is what they truly want. So they choose effort over ease, growth over convenience, and purpose over pleasure. It is important to understand that discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build. Nobody starts perfectly consistent. Nobody begins with unbreakable habits. Discipline is developed through practice, just like any skill. At first, it may feel difficult. You may struggle to stay consistent. You may slip, hesitate, or doubt yourself. But each time you try again, you strengthen your ability. Each repetition makes the next one easier. Over time, what once required intense effort becomes part of your nature. Discipline grows stronger the more you use it. Another truth is that discipline protects you from your worst impulses. Everyone has moments of laziness, distraction, or fear. These impulses are natural, but they can be destructive if they control your decisions. Discipline acts like a filter. It prevents temporary feelings from dictating permanent choices. It reminds you of your long-term vision when short-term comfort tries to distract you. It keeps you aligned with your purpose when temptation tries to pull you away. In this way, discipline is not just a tool for success, it's a shield for your future. Thriving requires discipline because greatness is not built occasionally. It is built daily. Occasional effort creates occasional results. Daily effort creates lasting results. The people who reach extraordinary levels are not always the most talented or the most fortunate. Often they are simply the most consistent. They show up again and again, long after others have stopped. They continue working long after excitement has faded. They keep pushing long after recognition has disappeared. Their advantage is not luck. Their advantage is discipline. When you fully embrace discipline, something remarkable happens. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You stop waiting for the right mood. You act now. You act anyway. You act consistently. That shift is powerful because it removes delay from your life. Progress no longer depends on timing. It depends on commitment. And commitment is something you can choose every single day. Thriving is not reserved for the lucky or the naturally gifted. It is available to anyone willing to live with disciplined intention. It is available to anyone willing to trade excuses for execution, hesitation for action, and inconsistency for commitment. The path is not always easy, but it is always effective. Discipline may feel demanding in a moment, but it creates a life that feels rewarding in the long run. So if you truly want to thrive, do not ask how to stay motivated. Ask how to become disciplined. Do not chase temporary excitement. Build permanent habits. Do not depend on emotion. Depend on decision, because motivation can inspire you for a moment, but discipline can transform you for a lifetime. And the moment discipline becomes your foundation is the moment thriving stops being a possibility and starts becoming your reality. Effort is the one advantage that is always available, always renewable, and always within your control. You may not control your background, your resources, your connections, or the opportunities you start with, but you will always control how hard you are willing to work. That is why effort is the ultimate competitive advantage. It is the equalizer that levels playing fields, the force that closes gaps, and the weapon that allows ordinary individuals to outperform extraordinary talent. While others search for shortcuts, luck, or perfect timing, those who understand the power of effort quietly build momentum that cannot be easily stopped. Most people underestimate effort because they are conditioned to admire results more than process. They see someone succeeding and assume that success must have come from talent, intelligence, or fortunate circumstances. What they don't see are the hours of unseen labor that built that success. They don't see the repetition, the sacrifices, the persistence through doubt, or the resilience through failure. Effort is often invisible while it is happening, but its results are undeniable once they appear. And that is what makes it powerful. It works whether or not anyone notices. It produces growth whether or not anyone applauds. It rewards those who trust the process long before the process rewards them. Talent can open doors, but effort keeps them open. Talent can give you a head start, but effort determines how far you go. There are countless people who began with natural ability, yet never reached their potential because they relied on talent alone. They assumed their gifts would carry them, so they never developed the discipline to push themselves. Over time, someone else with less talent but greater effort surpasses them. That is the quiet truth of progress. Effort compounds while unused talent fades. Skill improves with practice, but talent without effort remains stagnant. And in the long run, consistent effort almost always defeats inconsistent brilliance. Effort is powerful because it multiplies everything else you have. If you have skill, effort sharpens it. If you have knowledge, effort deepens it. If you have opportunity, effort maximizes it. Even if you feel you have very little to start with, effort expands what you do have. It stretches your limits, strengthens your abilities, and reveals potential you didn't even know existed. Effort is not just about working hard. It is about growing stronger through the work. Each challenge you face while giving effort becomes resistance training for your character. Each obstacle you push through becomes proof that you are capable of more than you once believed. Another reason effort is the ultimate advantage is that it builds resilience. When you work hard consistently, you develop endurance. You learn how to keep going when things feel difficult. You learn how to adapt when plans fail. You learn how to stand back up when you fall. Effort trains your mind to handle pressure and trains your spirit to withstand setbacks. People who avoid effort often avoid difficulty as well, but in doing so, they also avoid growth. Those who embrace effort willingly step into challenges, and those challenges shape them into stronger, more capable individuals. Over time, resilience becomes part of their identity. Effort also creates confidence, but not the shallow kind that depends on praise or validation. It creates real confidence, the kind rooted in preparation. When you know you have put in the work, you carry yourself differently. You speak with conviction. You act with certainty. You face challenges with courage. That confidence is not arrogance. It is evidence. It comes from knowing that you have trained, practiced, studied, and prepared. Effort removes doubt because it replaces uncertainty with readiness. You are no longer hoping you can succeed. You know you are ready to try. One of the greatest misconceptions people have is that effort must always be dramatic or extreme to matter. In reality, steady effort is far more powerful than occasional bursts of intensity. Anyone can work hard for a short time when they feel inspired or pressured. But sustained effort over long periods is what produces extraordinary outcomes. Small actions repeated daily can accomplish more than massive actions performed rarely. Effort is like water carving through stone. One drop seems insignificant, but repeated drops can reshape solid rock. The same principle applies to prize. Consistent effort shapes your future little by little until one day the transformation becomes obvious. Effort also separates those who dream from those who achieve. Many people have ideas, ambitions, and goals. They imagine success, talk about it, and plan for it. But imagination alone does not create results. Action does. Effort is the bridge between intention and reality. Without it, dreams remain fantasies. With it, dreams become projects. And projects, when pursued persistently, become accomplishments. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is always crossed through effort. There is no other path, no hidden shortcut, no secret substitute. Another truth about effort is that it is contagious. When you consistently give your best, you influence the people around you. Your dedication raises standards. Your work ethic challenges complacency. Your persistence inspires others to push harder. Creates an atmosphere of excellence. It sets a tone that says without words, the average is not acceptable and growth is expected. In this way, effort does not only elevate you, it elevates your environment. It becomes a force that multiplies impact far beyond your individual actions. Effort also protects you from regret. One of the heaviest burdens a person can carry is the feeling that they could have done more but didn't. Regret is often not about failure, but about inaction. People rarely regret trying their hardest, even if they fall short. But they often regret holding back, hesitating, or quitting too soon. When you give your full effort, you remove that burden. You know you did everything you could. You know you honored your potential. You know you did not let fear or laziness steal your chance. That peace of mind is priceless, and it belongs to those who choose effort over excuses. There will be times when effort feels exhausting, when progress seems slow, and when results appear distant. In those moments, it is easy to question whether the work is worth it, but that is exactly when effort matters most. Anyone can work when results are immediate. True competitors work when results are delayed. They understand that effort is an investment, not an expense. Not an expense. It may not pay off instantly, but it always pays off eventually. The key is persistence. Effort must be maintained long enough for its benefits to appear. Those who quit early often mistake delay for failure, not realizing that success was still forming beneath the surface. Effort also sharpens focus. When you commit to working hard, you become more intentional with your time and energy. You stop wasting hours on distractions that do not contribute to your growth. You start prioritizing actions that move you forward. Forces clarity because it requires direction. Hard work without purpose is tiring, but hard work with purpose is energizing. When you know why you are putting in effort, it stops feeling like a burden. It starts feeling like a mission. Purpose fuels persistence, and persistence strengthens effort. Another powerful aspect of effort is that it builds discipline naturally. The more you push yourself to work, the more comfortable you become with challenge. What once felt difficult begins to feel normal. What once required intense focus begins to feel routine. Effort rewires your standards. It raises your expectations for yourself. You begin to demand more from your actions because you have seen what you are capable of producing. In this way, effort does not just improve your results. It improves your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries occasionally and start seeing yourself as someone who shows up consistently. Effort is also fair. It does not discriminate. It does not favor one background over another or one personality over another. Anyone willing to give effort can benefit from it. It does not require permission. It does not depend on recognition. It is available to everyone at all times. That makes it one of the most powerful tools you possess. While other advantages may be limited or unequal, effort is unlimited and universal. The only question is whether you choose to use it. People often search for ways to gain an edge over others, hoping to find something rare or exclusive that will set them apart. They look for secrets, hacks, or shortcuts. But the real edge is not hidden, it is effort. Most people are unwilling to sustain it, which is why it becomes such a strong advantage for those who do. When you are willing to outwork, outlast, and outcommit, you naturally separate yourself. Not overnight, not instantly, but inevitably. Effort creates distance between you and average. It widens that distance day by day until eventually the gap becomes undeniable. Effort also builds momentum. Each action you take makes the next action easier. Each step forward increases your confidence to take another. Progress fuels progress. The hardest part is often the beginning, when momentum is low and resistance is high. But once you push through that initial phase, effort begins to work in your favor. It generates energy instead of draining it. It creates motivation instead of requiring it. Momentum is powerful because it turns discipline into rhythm and effort into flow. In the end, effort is the advantage that never betrays you. Luck can disappear. Circumstances can change, opportunities can close, but effort remains. It is the one factor you can always increase, always strengthen, and always rely on. It does not guarantee instant success, but it guarantees growth. And growth sustained long enough leads to achievement. So if you want a true competitive edge, stop searching for something outside yourself and start maximizing what is already within you. Use your effort, trust your effort, strengthen your effort. Because when effort becomes your strategy, improvement becomes your habit, resilience becomes your nature, and success becomes your destination. Consistency is one of the most underestimated forces in the world. Not because it lacks power, but because its power is quiet. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand attention. It does not produce instant fireworks that make people stop and stare. Instead, it works silently, steadily, almost invisibly, shaping outcomes day after day until one day the results become impossible to ignore. People often chase intensity because intensity feels productive. It feels dramatic. It feels impressive. But intensity is temporary by nature. It comes in bursts, fueled by emotion, excitement, or urgency. Consistency, on the other hand, is calm, steady, and relentless. And in the long run, it always wins. Intensity can push you forward for a moment, but consistency carries you forward for a lifetime. Anyone can have a day where they give everything they have. Anyone can experience a surge of motivation that makes them work harder than ever before. But what separates those who truly grow from those who remain stuck is not what they do once. It is what they do repeatedly. Success is rarely the result of one extraordinary effort. It is almost always the result of many ordinary efforts repeated without interruption. Consistency turns small actions into powerful forces because repetition multiplies impact. Think about how progress actually happens. Skills improve through practice, not through occasional bursts of effort. Strength increases through regular training, not through a single intense workout. Knowledge grows through daily learning, not through one long study session. Every area of improvement follows the same principle. Repeated action produces lasting change. When you act consistently, you give your mind and body time to adapt, develop, and strengthen. You create momentum that builds with each repetition. And momentum, once established, becomes one of the strongest allies you can have. Intensity often tricks people into believing they are making more progress than they really are. When you work intensely for a short time, it feels like you are doing something significant. You feel exhausted afterward, and that exhaustion can create the illusion of accomplishment. But intensity without consistency rarely produces lasting results. It is like trying to fill a bucket with water while constantly stopping and starting. You may pour a lot in one moment, but if you do not keep pouring, the level never rises very far. Consistency, however, keeps the flow steady. It may seem slow at first, but it never stops. And because it never stops, eventually fills the bucket completely. One of the greatest strengths of consistency is that it removes dependence on emotion. When you rely on intensity, your progress depends on how you feel. If you feel energized, you act. If you feel tired, you stop. That creates a pattern of unpredictability that slows growth. Consistency replaces that unpredictability with stability. It allows you to act whether you feel like it or not. It transforms effort from something emotional into something habitual. When your actions become habits, they no longer require constant motivation. They become automatic. And automatic progress is powerful because it continues even on days when your enthusiasm is low. Consistency also builds trust, both with yourself and with others. When you show up regularly, follow through on commitments, and maintain steady effort, you prove that you can be relied upon. That reliability strengthens your self-confidence because you know you can count on your own discipline It also strengthens your reputation because others see your dependability. People may admire intensity, but they respect consistency. Intensity can impress for a moment. Consistency earns trust over time, and trust is one of the most valuable currencies you can possess. Another important truth about consistency is that it compounds. Each small action adds to the previous one, creating cumulative growth. The first step may not seem like much. The second may not seem impressive either. But as the steps continue, their combined effect becomes powerful. This compounding effect is why consistency often appears slow at first, and then suddenly seems fast. In reality, it was never slow. It was building strength beneath the surface. Just like a tree grows roots before it grows branches, consistent effort builds a foundation before it produces visible results. Those who quit early miss the moment when the growth finally becomes obvious. Consistency also strengthens your mindset. When you commit to steady action, you train your mind to value persistence over excitement. You begin to see progress as something that is earned gradually rather than gained instantly. This shift in perspective makes you more patient, more focused, and more resilient. You stop chasing quick wins and start investing in long-term success. You stop worrying about how fast things are happening and start focusing on whether they are happening at all. That mindset is powerful because it keeps you moving forward regardless of how long the journey takes. Intensity often burns people out because it demands too much too quickly. When you push yourself to extremes without balance, you may achieve a burst of progress. But you also risk exhaustion. Once exhaustion sets in, momentum stops. Consistency avoids that trap by emphasizing sustainability. It encourages steady effort that you can maintain over time. Instead of sprinting and collapsing, you move forward at a pace that allows you to keep going. That steady pace may not look dramatic, but it is far more effective. After all, progress that lasts is always more valuable than progress that fades. Another reason consistency is so powerful is that it sharpens focus. When you commit to repeated action, you naturally become more intentional about what you do. You begin to eliminate distractions that interrupt your rhythm. You start prioritizing activities that align with your goals. You become more aware of how your choices affect your progress. This awareness strengthens your discipline and helps you stay aligned with your purpose. Consistency is not just about repetition. It is about purposeful repetition. It is about doing the right things over and over until they produce the results you seek. Consistency also changes your identity. At first, you may see yourself as someone who is trying to improve. But as you continue showing up day after day, your self-image begins to shift. You start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined, reliable, and committed. That identity change is powerful because behavior often follows belief. When you believe you are consistent, you act consistently. When you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, you develop the habit of finishing. Your actions reinforce your identity, and your identity reinforces your actions. This cycle creates a strong foundation for long-term success. There will be days when consistency feels boring, repetitive, or even frustrating. Those are the days when it matters most. Anyone can stay consistent when progress is exciting and results are visible. True growth happens when you stay consistent, even when the process feels ordinary. Those moments test your commitment. They reveal whether you are dedicated to your goal or just attracted to the excitement of it. When you continue despite boredom or difficulty, you prove that your dedication is real. And that kind of dedication is rare. It is also incredibly powerful. Consistency also protects you from the dangers of perfectionism. When you focus on steady action instead of flawless performance, you give yourself permission to improve gradually. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with what you have. This keeps you moving forward instead of getting stuck in hesitation. Perfectionism often leads to delay because people fear making mistakes. Consistency encourages progress because it values effort over perfection. It reminds you that improvement comes from repetition, not from waiting until everything is ideal. Another remarkable thing about consistency is that it creates momentum that eventually becomes self-sustaining. In the beginning, you may have to push yourself to act, but as you continue, your actions begin to generate energy instead of draining it. Progress becomes motivating. Results become encouraging. The very act of moving forward makes it easier to keep moving. This is why starting is often the hardest part. Once consistency is established, it begins to support itself. Momentum takes over, and what once required discipline begins to feel natural. Consistency is also the great separator between those who wish and those who achieve. Many people have dreams, ideas, and ambitions. They talk about what they want to accomplish. Imagine what success would feel like and plan what they might do someday. But only those who have consistently turned those dreams into reality. The difference is not intelligence or talent or luck. The difference is repetition. One group acts occasionally, the other acts daily. Over time, that difference becomes enormous. Small daily actions outperform large occasional ones because repetition builds strength that intensity alone cannot match. It is important to remember that consistency does not mean perfection. You will have days when you fall short, days when you struggle, and days when you feel off track. What matters is not that you never stumble, but that you always return. Consistency is not about never missing a step. It is about never quitting the journey. Each time you come back after you reinforce your commitment. You prove that obstacles cannot stop you permanently. You show that your dedication is stronger than temporary difficulty. In the end, consistency is powerful because it transforms potential into reality. Potential is only possibility. It represents what you could become, not what you are. Consistency is what bridges that gap. It takes what is possible and makes it actual. It turns ideas into actions, into habits, habits into progress, and progress into achievement. Without consistency, potential remains unrealized. With consistency, potential becomes destiny. So if you truly want lasting growth, do not chase intensity. Build consistency. Do not rely on bursts of energy. Commit to steady effort. Do not measure your progress by dramatic moments. Measure it by daily actions. Because intensity may impress for a moment, but consistency transforms for a lifetime. Influence is one of the most powerful forces in life, yet it is often overlooked. Many people assume that influence is reserved for the famous, the wealthy, or the powerful. They believe it is something earned through position, connections, or recognition. But the truth is that influence is available to anyone willing to cultivate it intentionally. Influence is not about having a title. It is about impact. It is about how your words, actions, and character affect those around you. And influence is not something that happens by chance. It is built deliberately through consistency, authenticity, and service. To truly understand influence, you must first recognize that every interaction you have leaves a mark. Every conversation, every decision, every gesture communicates something about who you are. Even when you are silent, people are observing you. They are noticing how you respond under pressure, how you treat others, and how you handle adversity. Influence begins in these seemingly small moments. It grows quietly through repeated demonstrations of integrity, competence, and courage. People may forget you said or did once, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. Your influence lives in the lasting impressions you leave behind. One of the most important foundations of influence is authenticity. People are drawn to those who are real, transparent, and consistent in their actions. Pretending to be someone you are not creates distance, confusion, and mistrust. Authenticity, on the other hand, builds connection. It signals to others that you are genuine, that your words align with your actions, and that you are reliable. Authentic influence cannot be manufactured or faked. It requires self-awareness and a commitment to show up as your true self, even when it is difficult. When people sense authenticity, they naturally respond with trust and respect. Another critical aspect of influence is the ability to lead by example. Words are powerful, but actions are more persuasive. People may nod along with what you say, but they will follow what you do. Demonstrating the behavior you wish to inspire in others creates a magnetic pull that no speech or lecture can match. If you want to cultivate influence, you must be willing to model the principles you advocate. Whether it's discipline, resilience, integrity, or work ethic, your life becomes the living proof of your message. Influence grows when others see that you practice what you preach. Influence also grows through consistency. People trust and follow those who are reliable and steady over time. Inconsistent behavior breeds doubt and uncertainty. When you are consistent in your values, your effort, and your character, people begin to see you as a dependable force. They know that you are committed to your principles, and that reliability creates credibility. Influence is not built overnight. It is built through repeated, visible demonstration of your standards and your priorities. Each day you live intentionally, you add another layer to your influence. Listening is another essential component of influence. Many people assume that influence is about talking, instructing, or persuading others. While communication is important, influence often begins with understanding. When you genuinely listen to others, you validate their experiences and demonstrate respect for their perspective. Listening creates connection. It creates empathy. It shows that you care about more than your own agenda. And when people feel heard, they are more open to your guidance, your suggestions, and your leadership. Influence flows naturally when it is rooted in respect and understanding. Influence is also closely tied to service. The most respected and lasting leaders are those who prioritize the needs of others over their own. They invest time, energy, and resources to help others grow, succeed, and overcome challenges. Influence is not a tool for manipulation or control. It is a responsibility to elevate others. By focusing on impact rather than personal gain, you create influence that is both meaningful and enduring. People naturally gravitate toward those who genuinely seek to help, support, and empower them. A powerful aspect of influence is its ripple effect. One intentional action, one encouraging word, or one bold decision can multiply far beyond your immediate circle. Influence spreads when it inspires others to act, think, or lead in alignment with positive principles. The impact of your influence is often invisible at first, but it grows exponentially over time. What begins as a small act of guidance, mentorship, or example can shape the lives of countless people long after your initial interaction. Influence, when exercised responsibly, has the potential to create lasting change that reaches far beyond your immediate environment. Influence also requires courage. It takes courage to stand for your principles when others oppose you, to speak the truth when it is unpopular, and to make decisions that challenge the status quo. People are naturally drawn to those who demonstrate conviction and bravery, especially in times of uncertainty. Influence is strengthened when you are willing to take a stand for what is right, even if it comes with risk or criticism. Your courage signals that your character is unshakable and that inspires confidence and respect in those around you. Another vital element of influence is clarity of vision. People are inspired by those who have a clear sense of purpose and direction. When your vision is defined, compelling, and communicated with conviction, it acts as a beacon for others. Influence grows when you can articulate not only where you are going, but why it matters. A compelling vision provides context for your action, motivates others to follow, and creates alignment around shared goals. Influence without vision is temporary. Influence with vision has the power to transform communities, organizations, and even generations. Influence also requires patience. It cannot be forced or rushed. You cannot demand that people respond to your leadership or follow your example. True influence develops over time through trust, credibility, and repeated demonstration of character. You must be willing to invest in relationships, nurture growth, and remain steady even when progress is slow or unseen. Patience ensures that your influence is genuine and enduring rather than superficial or fleeting. The seeds of influence take time to germinate, but once they take root, they yield abundant and lasting fruit. Empathy is another pillar of influence. Understanding the emotions, struggles, and motivations of others allows you to connect deeply and meaningfully. Empathy enables you to speak in ways that resonate, offer support that matters, and guide without alienate. People are more likely to follow those who demonstrate understanding and compassion than those who demand obedience. Influence rooted in empathy is not only effective but also ethical. It creates loyalty, fosters collaboration, and strengthens the bonds that enable collective growth. Influence also grows through credibility. People are more likely to be influenced by those who demonstrate knowledge, competence, and reliability. Credibility is built over time through consistent action, accurate insight, and trustworthy behavior. When others see that your words align with your actions and that your guidance produces results, your influence becomes stronger. Without credibility, influence is shallow and easily lost. With credibility, influence becomes enduring and transformative. It allows you to lead, inspire, and guide with authority and respect. Mentorship is a natural extension of influence. Sharing your knowledge, experience, and guidance with others multiplies your impact exponentially. Every person you help grow becomes a reflection of your influence, extending it further than you could achieve alone. Mentorship also reinforces your own learning and growth, creating a cycle where influence strengthens both giver and receiver. Influence exercised through mentorship is intentional, strategic, and deeply rewarding. It turns your personal development into a legacy that continues long after your immediate involvement. Influence is also strengthened by integrity. People are drawn to those who are morally consistent, honest, and principled. When your actions reflect your values, people trust you. When your commitments are honored, people follow you. Integrity is the backbone of lasting influence because it creates reliability. Without integrity, influence is fragile, dependent on circumstances, and easily broken. With integrity, influence is resilient, self-reinforcing, and sustainable. Character is the foundation on which all true influence is built. Influence also grows when you invest in communication. Clarity, authenticity, and consistency in your communication amplify your impact. People need to understand your message, feel your sincerity, and see your commitment. Communication is not only about speaking, it's about connecting, listening, and responding thoughtfully. Influence multiplies when you communicate in ways that inspire, educate, and motivate others. Words, when combined with integrity and action, become powerful catalysts for change. Another key aspect of influence is adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and the circumstances of those around you can change in an instant. Influence is strengthened when you are able to adjust your approach, remain flexible, and respond effectively to changing conditions. Rigidity limits your reach and alienates those who might benefit from your guidance. Flexibility, however, allows you to maintain connection, relevance, and impact, ensuring that your influence endures even in challenging environments. Influence also requires courage to be vulnerable. Sharing your struggles, failures, and lessons learned creates relatability and authenticity. People are drawn to leaders who have experienced challenges, made mistakes, and emerged stronger. Vulnerability does not weaken influence, it enhances it. It builds trust, fosters empathy, and inspires action by showing others that success is possible even after setbacks. Influence grows when people see your humanity alongside your strength because it shows them a path they can follow themselves. Finally, influence is about responsibility. Influence is a tool, and like all powerful tools, it can be used for good or for harm. Those who understand influence recognize that it comes with the responsibility to guide, uplift, and empower. Influence is not about manipulation, ego, or control. It is about creating positive change, inspiring growth, and leaving a legacy of impact. When influence is exercised responsibly, it multiplies, leaving a lasting mark that benefits not only the present, but also future generations. Influence is not instantaneous. It is not magical. It is not earned through luck. It is cultivated through consistent action, authentic character, courageous decision, empathy, and vision. Influence grows quiet, steadily, and powerfully, creating ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. Every word you speak, every action you take, and every value you uphold contributes to your influence. The more intentional you are, the more impactful it becomes. Those who understand influence recognize that it is both a privilege and a responsibility. It is a privilege because not everyone has the ability to shape the thoughts, actions, or lives of others. It is a responsibility because influence, when misused, can cause harm, spread misinformation, or weaken character. True influence elevates, it inspires, it strengthens. It creates opportunity, possibility, and growth. It transforms individuals, organizations, and community by turning ordinary action into extraordinary impact. Influence ultimately is about more than what you accomplish personally. It is about how your life elevates others. It is about the positive changes you inspire, the guidance you provide, and the example you set. Influence is the bridge between your legacy and the people who will continue it long after you are gone. And the people who harness their influence intentionally, ethically, and consistently are the ones who leave marks that time cannot erase. The reality is simple. Influence is earned, not demanded. It is built over time, reinforced by character, and sustained through action. Anyone can cultivate influence if they are deliberate, disciplined, and committed to growth. Influence is the multiplier that turns effort into impact, knowledge into wisdom, and vision into reality. It is the force that allows ordinary individuals to create extraordinary change. Influence is not measured by followers, titles, or recognition. It is measured by the lives you touch, the growth you inspire, and the legacy you leave. The person who builds influence intentionally understands that their actions, words, and character carry weight far beyond their immediate perception. Every interaction, every decision, and every demonstration of integrity compounds over time, creating a network of impact that cannot be easily measured but can be clearly felt. Influence is the ultimate demonstration of leadership. It is the mark of those who rise above self-interest to elevate others. It is the result of disciplined action, authentic character, and strategic investment in people. Influence transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. It turns effort into impact and vision into reality. Influence is the power that bridges your present actions with the legacy you intend to leave behind. Those who recognize the value of influence do not wait for recognition or authority. They create it through intentional living, steadfast integrity, and purposeful action. They understand that influence grows through service, consistency, courage, and vision. They build relationships, mentor others, and act as examples of the principles they believe in. They understand that influence is not about power over others, it is about empowering others. Influence, when cultivated with care, becomes a legacy. Every decision you make, every person you support, every standard you uphold becomes part of the impact you leave behind. Influence is enduring because it spreads beyond your immediate life. It shapes mind, inspires action, and molds character. It is the invisible thread connecting your effort, discipline, and vision to the lives you touch and the change you inspire. True influence is a combination of intentional, ethical behavior, authentic communication, courageous decision-making, and consistent character. It is built silently, grows steadily, and becomes visible through the lives it transforms. Those who harness influence intentionally do not need luck to create impact. They do not rely on circumstances to dictate results. They do not wait for permission to make a difference. They take responsibility, act with purpose, and leave marks that outlive them. Influence is the multiplier of legacy. Every action you take, every value you model, every person you inspire extends your impact far beyond what you can measure. It transforms effort into effect, vision into reality, and intention into change. Influence is the force that turns ordinary human potential into extraordinary results. And the person who cultivates influence intentionally, consistently, and ethically becomes not just a participant in life, but a shaper of it. Those who master influence understand that it is not a privilege of the elite. It is a skill, a responsibility, and a force available to anyone willing to invest in it. It grows through integrity, authenticity, service, courage, and consistency. It multiplies over time, creating effects that expand far beyond your immediate reach. Influence allows you to amplify effort, extend vision, and magnify the impact of your actions. It is the bridge between who you are today and the legacy you leave tomorrow. And influence is not instantaneous, and it is not guaranteed. It is cultivated intentionally through repeated demonstration of character, wisdom, and courage. It is maintained through consistent behavior, clarity of vision, and authentic connection with others. Influence cannot be bought or forced. It can only be earned. The person who pursues influence with purpose and responsibility ensures that their efforts resonate long after they are gone, turning ordinary actions into extraordinary impact. Ultimately, influence is about leaving the world better than you found it. It is about guiding, inspiring, and empowering others to rise, grow, and succeed. Good is about creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your immediate environment. Influence is a legacy of action, character, and purpose combined. It is the force that turns potential into transformation, ideas into action, and effort into meaningful impact. The person who understands influence acts deliberately, invests in others, maintains integrity, and models the behaviors they want to inspire. They communicate with clarity, listen with empathy, and lead with courage. They recognize that every interaction is an opportunity to shape, inspire, and elevate. They understand that influence is both a responsibility and a privilege, a tool to create lasting impact, and a vehicle to leave a meaningful legacy. Influence is not simply about what you achieve personally. It is about what your life allows others to achieve. It is about the doors you open, the examples you set, the encouragements you offer, and the standards you uphold. Influence is the multiplier that turns your effort into impact and your vision into a living legacy. It is the ultimate reflection of your ability to rise and thrive while lifting others along the way. Influence is earned over time, maintained through consistent character, and amplified by intentional action. It is a reflection of integrity, courage, authenticity, and commitment. Those who wield influence responsibly do not just succeed. They create environments, inspire growth, and shape the lives of others. Influence, when cultivated effectively, becomes one of the most powerful tools for creating lasting change in the world. The reality is that influence is available to anyone willing to invest in it. It does not require fame, wealth, or position. It requires intentionality, consistency, and character. It grows quietly, multiplies exponentially, and becomes evident through the positive impact on those around you. Influence allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary impact, transforming their lives, the lives of others, and the legacy they leave behind. By cultivating influence, you ensure that your efforts, values, and vision extend far beyond your personal achievements. Influence turns your work into inspiration, your example into guidance, and your life into a source of empowerment for others. It bridges the gap between your potential and your legacy, creating a chain of impact that continues long after your immediate contribution. Influence is the tool through which the Rise and Thrive method transcends the individual and touches the world. Those who understand influence recognize that it is both a responsibility and an opportunity. It is the privilege of shaping, guiding, inspiring, and the responsibility of doing so with integrity, wisdom, and purpose. Influence multiplies effort, amplifies vision, and extends impact. It is the force that allows ordinary lives to leave extraordinary legacies. And the person who cultivates influence intentionally, ethically, and consistently becomes not just a participant in life, but a shaper of it. Influence is the multiplier that ensures your effort is not wasted, your vision is not limited, and your legacy is not forgotten. It transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary impact. It amplifies the results of consistent effort. It extends the reach of disciplined action. It allows your rise to create opportunities for others to rise as well. Influence is not optional for those who aspire to leave a meaningful legacy. It is essential. It is the bridge between your personal success and the lasting transformation you create in the world. Those who truly master influence understand that it begins with character. It's strengthened through action, and it's sustained by integrity. They communicate clearly, listen empathetically, lead courageously, and serve selflessly. They model the principles they wish to inspire in others. They act consistently, even when recognition is absent. They lead by example, mentor intentionally, and invest in relationships that multiply their impact. Influence is not just a tool for achieving goals. It is the instrument through which legacy is built and lives are transformed. Influence is earned, exercised, and amplified. It is cultivated quietly through discipline, consistency, and courage. It multiplies effort, magnifies vision, and expands impact. It bridges the gap between personal ambition and collective transformation. It is the ultimate expression of leadership, the multiplier of legacy, and the force that turns ordinary individuals into architects of extraordinary change. When influence is combined with effort, discipline, consistency, and vision, it becomes unstoppable. It ensures that your rise does not exist in isolation but carries others with it, transforms your personal victories into collective triumph. It guarantees that your legacy is not measured only by what you achieve, but also by the lives you touch. Influence is the cornerstone of the Rise and Thrive method because it amplifies every other principle, turning action into impact, vision into reality, and effort into enduring transformation. Those who embrace the power of influence understand that it is not about control, it is about empowerment. It is not about ego. It is about service. It is not fleeting. It is enduring. Influence is the force that allows your rise to become more than personal success. It becomes a movement, a standard, and a legacy. By cultivating influence intentionally, ethically, and consistently, you create a life that does not simply succeed, but elevates, inspires, and transforms.